Everything I say here is not financial advice, just my opinion.
And when a watch guy looks at a watch or looks at a brand, they're seeing the horological, importance. So when you think about Rolex, yeah, horological.
It's a real word.
It is. And
I
so
don't know what
it means the history behind the making of watches. So the making of mechanical movements in order to tell the time.
Wasn't horologist? Wasn't it like looking at stars to tell the time?
No, that's
too?
astrologist.
No, I don't know. Go back to Pirates of the Caribbean 5. They have some joke about it where like.
So you're bringing Pirates 5 out.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where we get our information.
Yeah. that and the Amber Heard trial, right? Like,
have you been keeping up with that?
Yes,
it's been
dude.
crazy.
I've seen clippets, like just little reels.
I've watched so much of it. I love Johnny Depp. He goes like, we spotted human fecal matter. Dude, I'll be a stay-at-home dad. If she wants to work and make the money. I'll stay at home on my PC, work on NFTs.
Exactly. I like it.
I'll cook and clean.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
Hey, listen. I'm not a very good cook. I'm a little OCD, so I will clean up.
I can chef.
I like it clean.
I can chef.
Yeah. Wait, y'all gonna both marry the same woman here? What's going on?
No. I'm just saying I can cook, bro. That's it.
Y'all can marry each other now? I can cook for him. He can clean. Wow, what are we gonna do else for each other?
Hey, chill. But it was funny. Dylan's like, man, let's grill out these steaks. And I'm like, all right. Dylan takes them out to the grill. Fuck, Sean. How do you turn on the grill?
Well, I know how to sous vide steaks, like on the skillet. Yeah. With like butter,
it's fun, guys. I can sous vide steaks. I don't have to know how to turn off the grill.
He's gonna start speaking Italian now out of nowhere too.
You know that guy Gianluca Vecchio or something like that? He's this Italian guy. He's like this buff Italian dude who looks like Dan Bilzerian and just dances everywhere. And you'll see him on like yachts and stuff, like with his shirt off and super hot girl next to him. And they're just like dancing, having a good time.
So that's why he's trying to learn Italian.
Yeah, I'm trying to be that guy.
Yeah, dude,
I'm that guy.
The plan for me is just get super rich, buy a yacht with Italian and French models on it.
Yeah,
that's the Mediterranean Sea. That's the plan.
I'm more of like a Mile High Club. Like I'd buy a private jet, and we'll have all the women on the jet.
Yeah, but that's I guess a yacht's also
and then
really expensive.
But when I land the jet, we'll get on the heli, and then we'll come to your yacht.
Yeah.
That's the
there we go.
And then we'll all log off of GTA and say how
What's up, guys? This is the What's Next podcast, and we are sitting here today with a local entrepreneur who is dealing with NFTs, metaverse, crypto things, and so we have got some questions for him.
He goes by the name MetaJack.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Good to be on. I appreciate y'all having me.
Of course. Thank you for coming. So let's start with what got you into crypto.
Yeah, my journey really began, being a finance major at Auburn, and I was always looking for, fintech, right? Like, what's the next thing for finance? And I saw Bitcoin, right? And we heard about Bitcoin in 2019 as well as in 2020. And 2020 we really got interested because I kept hearing about it. I was like, this thing's not going away. I should learn it. And that was one of the best decisions I ever made. So in late 2020, I started buying crypto, and I really kept up with it, right? And in the summer of 2021, I worked at Bryant Bank as an intern. And during my time, I learned a lot about, the traditional financial system. And for banks giving out loans, I also worked in their mortgage department. And, you looked, right, to get a loan, there's a lot behind that process. You got to get the tax returns, the collateral appraisals. You also have to get your credit score, as well as, wire transfer fees, labor cost. Is also with, banks in general and not where I had worked at all. I never saw this. But, people sometimes associate, there could be an element of discrimination, right? So while I was learning about the traditional way of doing it, while I was working at this bank, I had looked into what's called DeFi, decentralized finance for crypto. And the alternatives there are amazing because if you want to get a loan, through crypto, it's less than 25, 15 minutes. You don't have to put in, tax returns, credit score. All you got to do, you don't have to put in an email. Like all you got to do is just get your, loan to value of, 50%. So say you put in, right, an NFT or some other crypto at like 10,000, you can get 5,000 out and get that loan. and all you have to do is connect it with your crypto wallet, and that's it. So and once I really learned about that, it clicked to me. I was like, wow, like, this makes sense why people are talking about this crypto thing. Yeah, it's really changing a lot of different industries, and I think like finance is a really good example, but also there's applications being explored, and fashion is what I'm currently doing. I know a lot of people that are moving into music with blockchain technology, gaming, art, and concert experiences. So there was a lot that's happening, but that was really the big catalyst that got me in, was the DeFi aspect.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So if you could like define what is, let's start with Web3. What is Web3 if you were to, give it a simple, definition?
Yeah, so the category of Web3 is a lot of different things. So Web3 essentially is, a group of different technologies that are being worked on, right? Mm-hmm. It includes augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, AI, blockchain technology, as well as like more computing science and developments in there for server hosting. Mm-hmm. So it's a really broad in term that's including innovation in a bunch of different kind of fields, mm-hmm. but they're all being brought together in this, this movement that we call Web3. Mm-hmm. So to give a little background, right, we had originally the beginning of the internet, Web 1, and Web 1 was really about you being able to read information on the internet, right? And so after Web 1, naturally was Web 2. And Web 2 was really what we grew up in, right? Mm-hmm. And what a lot of people still use to this day. Web 2 was being able to send and receive information on the internet. Mm-hmm. And that was, right, the rise of social media and the rise of, YouTube and Google, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, where you could send and receive that information. Web 3 now is, right, because we were able to read on the internet, we were able to send and receive. Web3 now allows you to own on the internet, right? And owning digital assets includes cryptocurrencies and NFTs that you can actually own in your wallet on cryptocurrency on the blockchain. So it's really changing the game of how we kind of use the internet right now, as well as really impacting how a lot of people do business.
Yeah. So you mentioned it before, blockchain. So it seems that crypto, lots of things are connected through blockchain, and blockchain is a subset within Web3. Is that correct?
Yeah, blockchain in really layman's terms is kind of, think about with a PC, right? Mm-hmm. PC runs on software, runs on Windows, and Windows is kind of a base software. You can build applications on top of it. Mm-hmm. So it's the same way there's different blockchains, right? There's the Ethereum blockchain, there's Solana, there's Polygon. And you can build apps on top of them, mm-hmm. called DApps or dApps, decentralized applications. And it's really just a new way to build, a protocol, an application, or a business, and have it function on a certain blockchain depending on how you want your business to be formatted. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of different blockchains are really like different, computer softwares really that you're able to build upon.
Gotcha.
So is that kind of what is behind NFTs? Like, is there blockchains behind NFTs? Because everybody says, like, I hear this if I had $1 for every time I heard this, when people say, why would I buy an NFT? I can screenshot it. And now people just don't understand really what it is. And I try to explain, and it's just like some people they're willing to hear and listen, but others just, I don't think they want to grasp it or can grasp it. So it's like, what is like the code behind like an NFT? Is that what like the blockchain technology is?
So that's a really good question, right? So we've got to break down two things first, right? What does it mean for a digital asset to be fungible? So let's take like one Bitcoin, for example. Mm-hmm. You can split one Bitcoin into two halves, like each could be 0.5 Bitcoin. You can split it down further. It's the same with the US dollar. If you have $20, it's fungible, so you can split it into two $10. That's being fungible. Now you have NFTs, stand for non-fungible token, which means you can't split it apart. It's a thing. My example that I really like to use to people, say like we have a piece of art here. Say you have like a $500,000 piece of art. You can't rip the thing in half and it be $250,000 each. It's one whole thing together. So an NFT is really just a digital thing that exists on the internet and that you can own it. So, right, like people are super skeptical about NFTs and for good reason, because there's been a lot of scams. Like, I've been scammed on things. I know a lot of people have as well. It's a really big problem. A lot of people are in it for, rug pulls, making money, things like that. But, when buying NFTs, it really is about, what type of NFT you're wanting to buy. Are you buying it for a video game? Are you buying it as ownership in a business? Are you buying it for something to wear? It really just depends on what you're looking for from an NFT. But in essence, it's really just ownership of a digital asset.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Gotcha. And so in the metaverse, this comes really in handy with the ownership side. So can you explain what is the metaverse and how NFTs can be implemented and used in the metaverse?
Yeah, so the metaverse is really a big ambiguous term that's been used a lot in the news. Like the best textbook example of, the terminology metaverse, I call it like an online synchronous experience that's decentralized and curated around the avatar. And what that means essentially is in Web2, right, we had big companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon that you have to go through them and they collect a lot of data on you. You don't have that much control of the platform, and their primary goal is just ROI for their shareholders. So in Web3, it's different because, for example, the leading metaverse world is Decentraland, and it's not a company. It's actually led as an organization called a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. And what it means is people that buy the NFTs in that world actually are buying ownership of the world. So if you own land or you own their native cryptocurrency, you have governing rights within that metaverse. So rather than, right, like if you're on Facebook, you don't have any say in what really happens on Facebook. But if you're in a DAO, you can actually vote and put out proposals like, hey, like we should add more land in the metaverse, or we should add more, character aspects. So that's really the decentralized aspect. Online synchronous is so that the goal for everybody to be on the same server at once, right? It's pretty funny because it sounds like just reality and us being on, playing at the same time. But the idea is that the computing science of Web3 is that the servers will advance so that everybody can be on together, which gaming's really led the way on. And, being curated around the avatar is just being about the player, making the experience about you rather than kind of you going to a website or you going to, somewhere on the internet. What if it all came to you in the metaverse? And what if it was curated around you and your user experience? Kind of like a single player video game where it's all around you. So that's kind of the experience that you want to go for. So that's kind of the broad definition that I give it, is like a decentralized, autonomous, online synchronous experience curated around the player.
Gotcha.
And that's kind of what Dylan said is what I wanted to get into, is like, I know that there's different metaverses, because I know that I know some people, they're like they don't know that there's multiple, and it's just like they just think it's like one thing, like one big place. And I know you were saying earlier with like with Meta, like a lot of people know about the metaverse that Meta's created, but how can, so I know that there is a way that you were telling me earlier, there is a way where people could go in between metaverses, and that's something that you're working on?
Yeah.
What's that called again?
So to go, right, so there's a lot of different like worlds, right? It's kind of like the internet where, like you're like, I'm going
different websites.
Yeah, it's like I'm surfing the web, I'm going to the metaverse. There's a lot of different, metaverses that currently exist, like the Decentraland, the Sandbox, Somnian Space. So the thing though, is say you buy, like say in the real world, right, you go to a game and you buy a jersey, right? Like I'm an Auburn student, so say I go to Auburn, I buy a jersey, but what if I can actually wear that jersey out of the stadium? Wouldn't that be weird? And
it's like you're locked in that one world. And so you were saying there's an open world, right? It's either an open chain or a closed chain.
Yeah, so the concept behind it is called interoperability.
Interoperability,
and it's,
that's it.
And it's the idea that if I buy an asset in one metaverse, why shouldn't I be able to use it in another metaverse? So, and the thing too is that there's this thing called like walled gardens. So Meta's or Facebook's Horizon World metaverse, I don't think it's really a metaverse because it's not decentralized. But when you buy stuff in there, you can't take it somewhere else. It's a walled garden. It's all the things you buy are stuck there, which is why when I just say something's a metaverse or not, I have those principles of it needs to be decentralized. It needs to be power to the people that are using it, and not just a company that's backing it the entire time and controlling it. So yeah, interoperability is something that like we at Alturage, which is I've been there for about almost 8 months now, and it's a digital fashion label creating IRL, AR, and metaverse garments and jewelry. And we're creating these pieces, but we have to create interoperability. We have to make it so that if you buy a piece, you can wear it in the Roblox metaverse.
So how does the coding work with that?
Yeah, it's really it's not complex. It kind of is. It depends on files. right? So different metaverses and platforms have different files. So like we create our pieces as a GLB file. Some metaverses use like I think it's a VRM file.
We have all of these different types of metaverses.
Yeah.
So like we have the Nikeverse, and there's other brands that are doing metaverses as well. How do you think that because these brands are real life brands that we use, in our everyday lives, how do you think that the technology changes that are coming with blockchain technology, with Web3, that these industries are going to change and be impacted?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because with like the metaverse, it's building on top of the internet right now, and it's gamifying social interaction, right? Like I see a lot of people talk about the metaverse, and they're like, why would I want to pretend I'm in a digital world when I can be in a real one, right? Like, sure, but how many hours a day do you spend in front of your TV or in front of your computer or on your phone? You're already kind of in the metaverse in a way.
Yeah.
So these brands are finding new ways to connect with their consumers. The way of Web 2 business was really right. There's a business and there's its customers, and there's kind of a disconnect between them. But it's changing in Web 3 because now it's a different approach. It's more of, rather than being that distant formal relationship, it's more of how can we bring our brand directly within our community and build more out rather than up. And there's different ways that are happening, right? Discord is being utilized a lot by companies now to have that, connection. One example I like to use is, say a company puts out a billboard on the street, right? It's going to be about 2 weeks until you really hear feedback about that. Versus now with the Discord, you're going to hear that feedback right away. And not only that, with websites, for example, on Web 2, when you want to reach a company, you could have to call them. They may not answer. You leave a voice message. They'll get back maybe the next day, right? Or you send like a form to them. It'll be 24 to 72 business hours until they get back. Or there'll be the little text box in the corner of a website, right? And you just have to type in a little screen and try to talk to somebody. But with applications like Discord, it's instant. You're talking to a community manager there. So that's one way that businesses are really being impacted is the relationship with their consumer, moving more towards community, which I think is the most overused word in Web3, but it's the best word we got, right? But yeah, like these brands are realizing too, from the fashion standpoint, is that they will eventually be creating a lot of digital products alongside of physical products. Like right now, like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, other like luxury brands are doing NFT drops right now, just kind of testing the waters. But in 5 years, they're going to be creating a lot of digital products alongside. Like I had a meeting with the director of innovation at Perry Ellis International, and we talked about what they're doing and what their approach is as well, and see if we can collaborate in some way. So a lot of brands, they're looking at this technology right now, and they're seeing, how are people interacting with it, and how can they produce more product with it. So that's a really good example on like the fashion side. But there's also industries like music, how creators are being compensated, as well as art, how a career of an artist can be fulfilling with royalties and commissions on their work as they resell. Gaming is major applications as well for blockchain. So a lot of industries are really being impacted, and it's just gonna be a matter of time until real estate is another one too.
Yeah.
Just until they catch up with the technology.
Gotcha.
I know, like what you just said with how it's blockchain technology is impacting all these different kind of sectors of
business,
our economy and business.
Yeah.
What I'm very interested with the video game aspect, because I know that there's a few video games that they're actually people you can make money off of it.
Yeah.
But there have been some very big rug pulls in that field. But it's like also that I just find that very interesting, because I know a lot of y'all probably play video games out there, and you got to think, like, if let's say I'm doing something, if I'm like playing this game, maybe there's an in the game economy where I could figure out how to make money in that. But like just doing things, like I feel like that would, when you can make money playing video games or without streaming or something, or you can make money in the metaverse, I feel like that's going to be it.
Yeah, I mean, it's because you got to think about like gaming right now, right? Like when you buy a game, and then when you buy the currency in the game, and you buy like these really cool wearables in the video game, you don't actually own any of that.
No.
You're buying the license to use it. So blockchain gaming is changing that, because when you actually buy like a wearable in a video game, or an emote, as well as like the game's currency, it could be on chain, it could be cryptocurrency, and it could also be the actual NFT, wearables or items in the game. So like you said, it creates a whole player economy. And there's also games too that are styled as play to earn. So as you play the game more, you earn more of the cryptocurrency, which is actually it's not a completely new strategy, because I think it was World of Warcraft. Like, people would mine gold in it and then sell it. In the early mid 2000s. So it's been around, but it's really starting to be popularized. And I think I know Ubisoft is looking into blockchain gaming. Epic Games is most definitely. I think EA is also looking at it as well. So the term blockchain gaming is really just going to be gaming in about 5 to 10 years and really be in the mainstream.
What are some other ways that people can create a career out of being at the forefront of this technology?
Yeah, I don't think that you have to start a new blank slate with like bringing your business to Web3 and blockchain. I think it's more about building on building on top of your existing business and bringing it there, right? It's kind of like how when Web2 came up, right, in the early 2000s, a lot of companies had to adapt to the internet. Some thought it was not going to be a thing, and those businesses got impacted. So I'd say like I speak to a lot of different like fashion designers, DJs, consultant marketers, different like people with vastly different backgrounds. And that's the thing, is that this is just building on top of the existing industries that happen on the internet or use the internet. So if you're like a DJ, for example, right, and you're performing in the real world, IRL, you could also perform in Decentraland, and you could get paid to perform in a virtual world. When has that ever really been a thing? And you can also too, like, there's a guy named DJ T-Rex that's in Decentraland. Great guy. I was able to meet with him and talk a lot. And his brand is the T-Rex. So what he can do with his audience is that he can sell to them like T-Rex had wearables, right? So now he's able to fund his career and build a fan base, an entirely separate area that he thought he might not have been able to access, 5-10 years ago, if he was just stuck to doing IRL performances. So it's just one example, like jewelers. Like this piece here is from Aurelius and Icarus, which is a, it's founded by my friend Tracy, and she's a jewelry designer. But now she's doing, jewelry. But when you buy it, you also get like an augmented reality or metaverse asset with it too. So it's really just building on top of your existing business and bringing it to the metaverse and contributing. So it's really cool to see how people from all over the world in different backgrounds are getting creative with it.
Definitely. The title NFT Advisor, that's something I've seen recently. Can you like explain what that is? Is that like a stock advisor? Like how somebody would watch over your portfolio?
No. Yeah, so it's a little bit different. Being like an NFT Project Advisor specifically too, I work with more of, people that are wanting to develop projects, right? And I'm helping them. I'll say, okay, like do you have an existing business? Do you have an existing following on social media? How do you want to build a closer connection with your audience? There's been restaurants in different cities where they'll create like an NFT community where they get exclusive access to different tables of the restaurant. Or there's one in New York where it's if you have to own the NFT to get in, right? It's also too with people that are wanting to create that closer relationship with their fans. Gary Vee is a great example of that with VeeFriends, right? So when you own one of the VeeFriends, you can go to VCon, which is happening right now. You can go to a football game with Gary. You can have dinner with him, have him on your podcast. So from an influencer standpoint, celebrity standpoint, it's a really good way to build a closer relationship with your fans too.
Let's say if I'm a creator like Gary Vee, so if I own your his NFT, so that's kind of like the utility that I get from owning that NFT, right? So it's like how would he do that? Like obviously there's a limited amount.
Yeah,
because he can't go to a football game with 20,000 people.
Well, it's based off of a rarity system. So like some people will get that, some people will get VCon.
I see.
Yeah, so it's not everybody. Because that would be pretty tough.
Right.
But it's really also too like you're buying into what we call the utility or the perks.
Is it worth that? Like, is it really worth that?
Well, think about it. Like if you paid $500 and you're able to talk with Gary Vee for 30 minutes, it's worth it.
I'll pay.
Yeah. Now true. It's tens of thousands of dollars now. I think for VeeFriends. So it's also too that you know for some projects they give you the IP rights, the intellectual property rights to it, like Bored Ape Yacht Club. So you have that utility within your community, but you also can use that character. I don't know if VFriends does it specifically, but with Bored Ape, for example, there's a guy out in LA who opened a restaurant for burgers. It was like Bored Ape Burgers. So you then have so it's like you have full license to use that IP however you want.
Was he taking ApeCoin at the store?
I think that's a good question. I don't think ApeCoin had launched.
Okay.
I think that was like maybe like a month before it launched. I might be wrong.
So you're telling me if I owned a Bored Ape, I could start a little pop-up with my own and
100%
and piggyback on that because I'm an owner of it. Wow.
Yeah, it's there's a lot because you get like the initial utility of it,
right.
But then you also like Bored Ape is the Rolex of NFT world right now. And that's what we call like a profile picture project, a PFP project. And it's, I don't know how long those will be leading the way, but people don't realize, they say like, why can't I just screenshot it? Why can't I like, look at me?
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier.
It's like, it's not that you have the image, it's that you have the NFT, which can verify that you are a owner of the Bored Ape intellectual property, and you have exclusive access to IRL events, high network of people who are in an organization that's a high barrier of entry. So it's going to be a lot of high net worth and celebrity people. It's also too, like you said, like you have that rights to use it.
So I didn't understand that part. So that's a big difference. Is you have the intellectual property of that organization. Yeah. Like let's say I bought a Ferrari, right? I can't go and like be like start my own Ferrari store. You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty sure you're gonna get sued real quick if you do that. But so let's say I own that, then there's no one you can't get sued because it's like I own this. I'm a part of this.
They relinquish the rights, and it's kind of like with Mickey Mouse, for example. That's awesome. What if like Disney had made 10,000 different variations of Mickey Mouse and then sold them out and said you can do whatever you want with them? That's essentially what Bored Ape has done, where they just made 10,000 different variations of this ape, and really it's just unlocking people's creativity as to what they want to use them for.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So let's bring it to current projects. Is there anything that I know you were telling me about your jewelry stuff. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So at Entourage right now, we were the first NFT jewelry on TV. Megan Casper wore it on Yahoo Finance, which was awesome. She wore our circuit pendant crystalline earrings, which is from our e-waste collection, and that was in AR, augmented reality. Then we recently featured in the New York Times, which is a big win for us. And like I said, right, so we make the IRL, the AR, and the Metaverse assets. So we're actually going to come out soon. I think June 17th is our collection. So that's going to be our first Metaverse collection. And we're actually working to have a party in Decentraland for it. So that'd be pretty cool.
That is really cool.
We're going to have a DJ. He goes by Alien Jack Frost. He's going to be live performing in Decentraland, which is going to be really awesome. And, we're going to release our AR collection later this year. We're going to have a pop-up, most likely in LA, that we're planning on. So, and then, in later in the year, we'll open up our DAO. We run as a DAO, so people can actually buy in and own portions of the DAO and be able to vote. And, we call it co-create, where you can actually design pieces. If people in the DAO like it, they can vote to add it to the collection. Mm-hmm. So it's really cool because... it's right because Entourage, from our founder Lauren Kosher, had worked at Yves Saint Laurent, and one of the things Entourage was founded on was kind of getting rid of the phrase breaking into fashion, because fashion, especially luxury, is super hierarchical. It's very exclusive, and with Entourage being a DAO-led fashion label, we want to get rid of that. We want to disrupt, and we want to say, everybody has a seat at the table. Anybody can contribute to this culture that we're creating, and we're really excited to be getting a lot of progress done, especially for our first collection coming out.
Gotcha. Well, congratulations on
being
in the New York Times, man. That's sick. And I know probably for some people that don't know, you went through it pretty quick. So AR, so that's augmented reality, right? So if you have like an image or something, I could pull up on my phone and I could like display like an image like right here in front of me, but I can't see it, but it's like on my phone. So that's what that is, correct?
Yeah, and what's crazy too is that Facebook got big because the cell phone got big, right? Like that's how they adapted. But Facebook's now going to, you know, VR and AR, right? Virtual reality and augmented reality, because they know, you know, everybody's not, you know, we're going to get tired of having, you know, big foam bricks in our pants, right? Like, it's going to go to AR smart glasses. And, you know, that's why we want to be at the forefront of this virtual and AR world.
That.
And think about it too, right? Like, we grew up using Snapchat. Snapchat to us was the 10-second app where photos went away. But people use AR every day. Like, if you look at filters on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat,
they do, yeah.
It's augmented reality. And Snapchat isn't just a photo sharing app. It's an AR app. It has a whole Lens Studio program behind it. Like, people creating AR on there is you're creating this whole, you know, infrastructure for creating more on this, you know, this new medium of expression in augmented reality. So we're really wanting to push on like the boundaries of AR, and so you can wear, right? Like, we had our earrings where if you're on Zoom, Google Meet, social media, or what have you, you can actually wear, you know, whatever jewelry that you'd want, you know, and as well as we're currently having AR that has body tracking, so you can wear different outfits that are larger than life, right? Like, you could be wearing a flaming suit and be walking down the street, and somebody else could be wearing, you know, big wings on the back of them. So it's really just this whole new medium of expression that we're really wanting to push the boundaries on.
Gotcha. So just to clarify, you're a minority stake owner in Entourage?
So Entourage, right? So because we're a DAO, what we're going to do is we're going to allocate a certain percentage of the governance tokens to, which is like considered the equity of the DAO, to the core team that's working on it, which includes myself. Then we're going to sell a large portion to, you know, different investment DAOs, retail investors, and things like that.
Gotcha.
Where those funds will be put in the DAO treasury. And as a DAO, we'll be able to vote on what we want to use those funds for, what projects we want to do, as well as be able to hire people like myself to work full time on these different DAOs.
Gotcha.
So when we go public, you know, I will get my governance within the DAO, my NFT shares. And then, you know, hopefully we'll get more funds to have a lot more people like our AR engineers, our 3D modelers, myself leading a lot of the marketing and business strategy, as well as with, you know, our amazing business strategist leader, Tulin. So, you know, we'll have a lot more funds. But right now, a lot of it's just been bootstrapping and people sharing values, coming together and creating.
I like that. So clearly this has been a big project that has been going on for a while.
Yeah, it was founded in August of 2021, and I got on board pretty much around like late September, early October.
Gotcha.
So I've pretty much been a part of it ever since, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made because you know it was a great opportunity. I mean, it is a great opportunity, but also the ability to meet so many different people, right? Like I've met, you know, 3D modelers from, you know, South America. I've been able to meet fashion designers from France. I've been able to meet people from, you know, Austria, California, you know, AR engineers that, you know, worked at Apple, Oculus, work closely with Snapchat, things like that. So this whole Web3 metaverse thing is that it's the best networking opportunity that's currently available to anyone. Yeah. Because everybody's starting at the same line. We're all trying to figure it out. And, you know, I've been able to meet a lot of, you know, well-known individuals just because not many people know about this NFT stuff or are willing to learn as much. And there's a lot to learn, and it's constantly changing. Yeah. But the possibilities are really endless for whoever you can meet and what you can work on. Gotcha.
So when you were first looking at the Entourage, is that right?
Yeah.
When you were first looking at them, what was some of the things that drew you towards their message, everything that they've got going on? Like, in order for you to say that I see success in this, that I would put my money behind it.
Yeah, for me, it was I really fell in love with Lauren's, you know, for vision and passion and wanting to change things. That everybody in Entourage is, you know, everybody's like, I'm a full-time student right now, and I'll be graduating within a year. But also a lot of people, you know, they're like 30, 40, 50, you know, they've done their whole lives in Web2 careers, and they say, we want to try something different. We want to do something that's community and DAO led, that's actually being led by the people that are working on it every day. And, you know, that is really inspiring and made me fall in love with it. And just, you know, the visuals of AR and metaverse assets, like I fell in love with it because it's beautiful designs. And I think as I said, as we shift as a society more in the next 5-10 years to augmented reality, you know, smart glasses like Snapchat Spectacles or Meta's AR or Apple Facebook or Microsoft HoloLens, right? it's going to be the norm. So I found this is a great way to not only get more familiar with like the NFT industry back then, but also to be on the cutting edge of this exciting technology.
Gotcha. Where do you see it in, that 5 to 10 year span?
Yeah, I really think, right, like the phones are not going to be as popular, or along with the phones, you'll have the smart glasses.
Yeah.
Looking at what's out right now, like Apple's isn't out, Meta's isn't out, Microsoft HoloLens is out, and Snapchat Spectacles 4. One of our AR engineers, he has them. We're looking to see if we can use them in an event this year. There's a lot of road barriers because like short battery life, small field of view for the AR, but it's getting there, right? And I think it's also too like the public awareness and being aware of the utilities. Like I remember when smartphones became the norm, my mom was like my flip phone's fine, why would I ever want a smartphone?
Right.
Now she's on her phone every day. Sorry, Mom.
Right.
So I think people will eventually get around to it, and semiconductor supply chain shortage is kind of an issue right now too, but give it 5-10 years, I think a lot more people are going to have it, especially as it becomes cheaper.
Gotcha. Where do you see yourself around that time?
Yeah, I really hope that I'm still doing what I'm doing now, but completely full time, and traveling the world, working on different projects, meeting a lot of new people, and just working on things that are meaningful to me, and pushing the boundaries as I like to do on different industries, because the beauty of being able to work on NFT projects is that they're really universal in which industries you can apply them in. It's just kind of the use case. So, in that time, I hope to be, leading the industry a little bit more, helping people out with their projects, and, coming back on the podcast. So
for sure. For sure.
We'll have a spot open for you.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, Jackson, we've had a really good conversation. We appreciate having you on here.
It was awesome, man.
Yeah.
I love talking to people like you, man, because, and there's one more thing before we end off here is like, we talk a lot about NFTs and everything, and even him, like, if you're thinking about investing in this stuff, like, definitely do your homework. Because
do your own research.
We joke about rug pulls and stuff. Like, this isn't a game. Like, you really can lose a lot of money. So, like, obviously none of this is financial advice.
Correct. None of this is financial advice. Do your own research. Read white papers. Read the roadmaps. Look how active their social medias are. Do your due diligence. Everything I say here is not financial advice, just my opinion.
Well, you guys, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button, and drop us a comment down below.
I'm pretty sure next week we're gonna have a guest next week. It's insane, guys. He literally was bored during COVID, so he decided he wanted to code his own AI. Like, I don't know if like, that's artificial intelligence. He's coding his own. He's coding a robot, essentially, that can think on its own. And I don't even know where you would begin with that, but he is a very smart man. So we're gonna have him on next week. So any questions that y'all have based on more Web3 questions, if we didn't get to something, he knows a little bit about that. Any AI based questions, maybe also quantum computing. We talked to him about that on our call. And I don't even know that much about any of these things. So if y'all want to know more,
we're looking forward to it.
Drop it down there.
Yes, definitely. Well, Jack, again, we appreciate having you on, and you guys can find him on all socials. We'll link him down. And is there anything you want to plug before we head out?
Man, find a Web3 way to do it. Appreciate y'all having me on.
I like that. Yes, sir. Well, y'all have a good one.
Peace out, guys.
Peace.